If you're trading Bitcoin, depending on where you are, there's a chance you might be funding Kim Jong-un's regime in North Korea. So, how's that? Let's hear it from Priscilla Moriucci. She's been sorting through North Korea's internet browsing data for months, trying to develop some warning tools for the missile tests. But instead, she found something else: Bitcoin mining.
What is the hard evidence that the North Korean regime is actually using Bitcoin?
Right, so I think to put this in context, you have to look back at some of the activity we saw last year with North Korean cyber espionage actors targeting the financial sector. Basically, what we're seeing now is a pivot in this year with the appreciation of Bitcoin prices, where they're shifting their operations to include cryptocurrency exchanges. And we've seen them deploy malware that we've seen them use exclusively to target at least several exchanges in South Korea.
So when you sort of look at what kind of stuff is going on, how do what are some of the techniques you use, or what does it look like? You see it's attacks on South Korean exchanges?
Right, so the specific examples that we've seen are spear phishing, where we see these cyber espionage operators send malicious emails to employees of these exchanges. They're then able to deploy their malware and then use that as a way to get in the exchanges themselves and then potentially cash those out and transfer the Bitcoin or Ethereum elsewhere.
So obviously we're looking at the South Korean exchanges here. How does the regulation of, and I use that term loosely, the regulation of the South Korean exchanges compare to exchanges elsewhere in the world when you're talking about things like money laundering, as you appear to be alluding to here?
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to the regulatory environment in South Korea, but I think one thing that is attractive about cryptocurrencies to nation states like North Korea is that there's probably less controls, anti-money laundering controls and know your customer controls than there are in traditional financial markets. So it enables them to, steal cryptocurrencies from one exchange and then potentially transfer those into another cryptocurrency or to another exchange and then cash out for fiat currency there.
Are there classic fingerprints here that look like the North Koreans? And what about timing here as well? Do we see the tightening of sanctions and then we see greater activity in terms of Bitcoin if they're simply just trying to get liquidity here and access to money?
Right, well I think we see the North Koreans engage in a lot of illicit financial activity, counterfeiting, money laundering, and I think cryptocurrency targeting is just an extension of that. We see the two macro drivers of this really being the appreciation of cryptocurrencies this year, but also that tightening of sanctions that's forced the North Koreans to be somewhat creative in how they employ their cyber espionage capabilities, in this case going after these exchanges.
When I retrieved the data for the week of May 17, I noticed that there was an unusual amount of Bitcoin activity that I had not seen before. I went back and was able to confirm, as the weeks went on, that the activity was still continuing, that it was mining.
Moriucci works at Recorded Future, a threat intelligence firm that's backed by Google and the CIA. They have unique access to the browsing activities of North Korean leadership, provided by their partner, Team Simrud.
The Bitcoin mining activity that we saw involved more than one of the North Korean IP ranges, which means that it was likely that it was more than one person.
But who would be able to mine Bitcoin in North Korea? After all, most North Koreans don't even have internet access, and Bitcoin mining is a computationally intensive process. Miners need high-performance, customized computers to pull it off.
So I have two hypotheses about who is behind the North Korean Bitcoin mining operation. First is that it's activity sponsored by the state as a way to generate funds for the region. The second hypothesis is that it's an individual user among the small sliver of users and then have access to the internet.
Both of Moriucci's hypotheses lead us to North Korean leadership. But why would a rogue nation like North Korea care about Bitcoin? Well, for one, North Korea desperately needs new ways to make money. Under the UN sanction imposed in August, China has banned imports on North Korea's iron, coal, and seafood. That's about 35% of North Korea's trading income. And the UN Security Council just approved new sanctions against North Korea, the harshest yet. The impact, though, is yet to be determined. But Bitcoin is an open network that gives people options to send and receive money anonymously. So in short, North Korea can mine Bitcoin to earn valuable income legally and hardly leave a footprint. And it also helps that Bitcoin is gaining value. Despite its volatility, one Bitcoin is worth over $3,500 US. But would North Korea be able to exchange their Bitcoin for real currencies? Probably not in the United States, because in 2014, the U.S. Treasury Department expressed concerns on digital currencies being used by nations looking to evade sanctions. A year before that, the Treasury had asked digital currency exchanges to register with FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and report suspicious transactions.
It wouldn't surprise me if, hypothetically, North Korea were to have pre-existing business relationships in China that wouldn't mind purchasing Bitcoin from them and then, just disseminating it to the Chinese market as you would any other Bitcoin.
There's not enough data for us to know how much North Korea will benefit from Bitcoin mining, but it's almost certain what North Korea will do with their money. The same thing they've been doing all along. Developing nuclear weapons, firing missiles, and making sure the Kim family continue to rule North Korea for generations. So ultimately, it is up to the international community and the Bitcoin community to decide whether or not they're comfortable trading Bitcoin with North Korea.
Speculators aren't the only ones cheering the runaway Bitcoin boom. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un may also be celebrating a windfall. In recent months, experts and officials say North Korea has been mining Bitcoin, demanding it as ransom payment and outright stealing the digital currency. It is a fact that North Korea has been attacking virtual currency exchanges, said Lee Dong-jun, a director with South Korea's state-run Korea Internet and Security Agency. We don't know how much North Korea has stolen so far, but we do know that the police have confirmed the regime's hacking attempts. North Korean hackers targeted 4 different exchanges that trade Bitcoin and other digital currencies in South Korea in July and August, sending malicious emails to employees, according to police. Bitcoin is a type of cryptocurrency that lives on computer servers. The virtual coins are mined by complex algorithms and recorded in a digital ledger. Experts say it's unclear how much Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies North Korea has amassed. It's reasonable to assume some, and the value is increasing significantly at the moment, said Bryce Boland, Singapore-based Chief Technology Officer with cybersecurity firm FireEye. Experts say the attacks are likely to continue as Bitcoin's price skyrockets. It started a year below $1,000 but has soared more than 1,500%, crossing $17,000 for the first time last week. It's not just Bitcoin's dizzying gains that make it appealing to North Korea. The digital currency was designed to operate outside of the control of governments or banks. That's likely to appeal to North Korea at a time when the U.S. is stepping up efforts to cut the country out of the international financial system over its nuclear weapons program. It has also proved popular in the past with criminals because of the amount of anonymity it allows. Bitcoin isn't tied to any central bank, and payments can be made anonymously without using banks as middlemen. That could help North Korea convert its stash into money it can more easily use. Bitcoins are often held in accounts with online exchanges, but Boland points out that hackers can easily swap them into more obscure cryptocurrencies, move them to other exchanges and eventually withdraw them in traditional currencies like dollars. They could do those transactions very quickly, and avoid traceability of the cash, Boland said. North Korea has repeatedly denied involvement in international hacking attacks. But it has made no secret of its interest in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Last month, the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology touted a lecture from a Bitcoin expert who came to North Korea to teach students about the technology behind the digital currency. The university is a high-profile institution where signs of the North Korean elite study. Many excellent technical questions were asked about the inner working of Bitcoin, its risks, and the measures taken to ensure security, the university said. Boland said FireEye believes North Korea is developing a significant number of people who understand Bitcoin so they can expand their operations. That's likely to mean more attacks on exchanges and other cryptocurrency targets.
We've been talking about the rise of Bitcoin, but Thursday's action was out of this world. I mean, the thing was on a one-way rocket. What is going on here?
It really is, to put it mildly, just insane right now, Maggie, because you have all of this fervor about Bitcoin because the price has continued to go higher for the most part, even though it's been extremely volatile. And I think that's attracted a lot of average investors who start wondering, hey, the stock market is doing okay, but I can't make money that quickly off of a company even like Apple or Google, so why not throw money into Bitcoin? And that's, of course, incredibly risky, but the more that the price goes up, the more that people think it'll never go down. And we've lived through many bubbles like that before, and they don't often end well.
That's right, and I watched nightly newscasts about a father who's paying for his daughter's wedding. Jose, this gets me incredibly nervous because there are risks, and one of the things that we talk about, worry about, are the thefts we continue to see from the exchanges. I know that you watch that part of the world that isn't obvious to the rest of us all the time. Any sign that that's going to stop once this is more widely accepted or trading on exchanges? No.
No, not at all, and here's why. Let's talk about what Bitcoin is and what it's not. It is a technology experiment, okay? About 8 or 9 years ago, it launched as an experiment in independent money, non-government money. And for years, it was used by the tech community as such. But what we see right now is this huge public interest in something that, frankly, most people don't understand. And here's the thing. The way Bitcoin works, it's a highly technical experiment. If you own a Bitcoin, you have a private key that controls it. If you lose that key, like forgetting your password, if you've ever forgotten your password, Bitcoin might not be for you because you'll lose whatever you invested. You'll lose that Bitcoin, that money. And that's what hackers go after. They go after these private keys. That means that if you get hacked, they'll steal your Bitcoin. If you let the exchange where you bought it at keep your private key, hackers can go after that exchange to steal it. And let's talk about how many exchanges have been hit here. I just pulled up a list of exchanges that have been hacked, and this is just a portion of that list. Exchanges like NiceHash, Tether, CoinDash, Zcoin, Bitfinex, and the giant debacle that was Mt. Gox back in 2014 that lost $450 million worth of Bitcoins, which at today's prices would be worth something like $12 billion. That sounds like insanity. Can you imagine a company losing $12 billion of its customer money?
And there's not necessarily any recourse or anywhere to go where it doesn't operate. This is what happens when it's not regulated. Paul, this brings us to the point of the exchanges getting involved. I think this has given it, whether intended or not, a credibility, a feeling like maybe it is going to be like another asset, which, by the way, not clear at all. And we will be talking to the exchanges as they launch, including on Monday, about how they feel about that. But this could increase volatility. I'm hearing for some people, oh, it's going to go even higher because now it's going to be widely accepted. But I also hear now people are going to get a chance to short it. And you might see that volatility on the downside. We don't know how this is going to play out, do we?
There could be several unintended consequences, Maggie, to the legitimacy of Bitcoin that will come about because of the CME, the CBOE, the NASDAQ looking at futures as well. And to Jose's point, there's also going to be increased efforts, I think, by hackers to try and steal Bitcoin because of that legitimacy. Remember a long time ago in tech land when Apple was a distant second to Microsoft in terms of an operating system, and people praised Apple for having great security. No one would ever hack Apple, and that was because you didn't hack the thing that was in second place or third place. People started looking to hack iOS and other Apple platforms once Apple became dominant. And I think you're going to see the same thing here with Bitcoin. The increased legitimacy is going to, unfortunately, have more bad actors trying to steal Bitcoin.
Yeah, and Jose, I'm sure you agree with that. Do we need more transparency? When I said the part of the world you watch, you look at what's happening on the dark web, the parts that we don't look at. We don't even know who created this. There doesn't seem to be a lot of accountability here, even in a non-governmental form.
No, there isn't, and it's that way by design, right? I wrote a book about this a few years ago, and I called it Bitcoin and the Future of Money. And the reason I named it that is because what's important here is not just this experiment, it's that this experiment has shown us that it's possible to create an independent currency. It's possible to try to create something that could compete with government-backed currency. It's possible to create a system that the engine of Bitcoin called the blockchain that can track things in a very unique way. And so there are uses there. And this is what really gets me when I hear people that want to invest in this that don't understand it and just want to jump in on the upswing. They call it an asset. Is it an asset? I mean, gold is an asset. Oil is an asset. There are uses for these things. But the use of Bitcoin from the beginning has been as a currency. But let's check that for a second. Because if it's useful as a currency and the price keeps going up, you don't want to spend a Bitcoin, because if you buy something today and you wait tomorrow, you'll find out that, wait a minute, I could have waited one more day and used less of my Bitcoin. So there's a sort of deflationary pressure here.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If it's not really a currency and it's not really an asset, then what is it? It's a bunch of people who want to jump in to catch it on the upswing, and a lot of people are going to get hurt. And I've got to clarify here, Bitcoin is a really interesting experiment, and people should pay attention because it says a lot about the future of money and a lot about interesting technology. But it is a dangerous way to put your money into the market.
The price of Bitcoin was up 4.35% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 17.51, a high of 17.159, and a low of 16.312. That's $1 for 5,822 Satoshis, or we are now just 822 Satoshis away from breaking the $1 to 5,000 Satoshi barrier. North Korea may be making a fortune from Bitcoin mania. And what you want to do in this kind of article is you just want to change the world Bitcoin to money. North Korea may be making a fortune from money. That's right, North Korea is mining money, collecting money for ransom payments, and outright stealing money. It's as if North Korea can somehow tell that this money is worth money. NiceHash CEO speaks out after $60 million cryptocurrency hack. That's right, NiceHash, which we reported right here on this show, was indeed hacked for $60 million, while many on the outside wonder if it's an inside job. NiceHash is carefully walking around the idea that they might print a token just like Bitfinex. NiceHash claims that everyone will be reimbursed for the lost funds. No one knows exactly how this will happen yet, but a token printing is a likely scenario. Bitcoin isn't sapping demand for gold, says Goldman Sachs exec. Which is great, because that just means there's demand for Bitcoin, and there's demand for gold, leaving us more demand to sap in the future.